What if everything you believe you are was just a reflection of what others expect from you? Have you ever wondered who you really are when no one is watching? Nietzsche said, "We are not born ready. We become." But how do we become who we truly are in a world that insists on molding us at every turn? Maybe no one ever taught you to ask that question. Maybe all you ever learned was how to behave, how to win, how to be accepted. But no one showed you how to be yourself, how to doubt what you were taught and what they call normal. No one taught you to question a successful life that looks right, but leaves you empty. So this is where the revolution begins. Not when you find the answers, but when you decide to ask the right question. Most people live as if there were only one acceptable script for life. Study, work, be productive, start a family, smile for weekend photos, and say thanks, even when your heart feels heavy. Few dare to pause and ask, where did these values that structure my existence come from? And even more, do they make sense to me? Or do they just protect me from the fear of being left out? Nietzsche was among the first to draw back the curtain on this social performance. He recognized that the so-called universal values, justice, kindness, truth, humility, were often just interests disguised as virtue. He wrote, "What then is truth? A mobile army of metaphors, metonymies, and anthropomorphisms. In short, a sum of human relations that have been poetically and rhetorically intensified, transposed and adorned, and which after a long use appear to a people as fixed, canonical, and binding. Truths are illusions that have been forgotten as illusions." By this, Nietzsche did not intend to deny the truths of physics or mathematics, but rather the imposed truths concerning the values we carry. This inevitably makes us ask, how many of my choices have truly been my own? It's hard to admit, but most of the time we become obedient not out of conviction, but out of fatigue. Fatigue from explaining who we are, the fear of disappointing, anxiety about seeming too weird, and then we join the game. We adjust our tone of voice, wear fashionable clothes, hide our differences, and we convince ourselves that this is what it means to be mature. But I ask you, is that really maturity, or is it cowardice? This so-called maturity, in most cases, is nothing more than fear disguised as common sense. And fear does not chain us with shackles, but with daily, almost invisible compromises. You can see this in the joke you laugh at unwillingly, just to avoid seeming lame, or in the class you take because they said it has a future. None of these behaviors are imposed. They are invitations because they reward us with a sense of belonging, with the comfort of feeling part of something bigger, part of a community. But what good is comfort that weakens us, that drains our vitality? This domestication stifles our will to live, and it's precisely because of this weariness that Nietzsche asserted, no price is ever too great to pay for the privilege of belonging to oneself. So in this video, I will lay out the Nietzschean privileges and the path to finding yourself. But before that, let's talk about this price to be paid, because nobody warns you about the problems that arise when you dare to belong to yourself. In the eyes of others, you don't become a hero. You become the villain, or worse yet, the madman. Even when people recognize with wide eyes the value of authenticity, you will still be judged. Nietzsche said, "All morality so far has been herd morality. Those who want to be different have been called evil." In other words, those who dare to follow their own path are condemned simply for disagreeing with the herd. And as if the criticism weren't enough, there will also be those who call you insane. After all, as he himself wrote, those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. This means that being authentic in a world that values conformity is like dancing to a song that few can hear. So the price of being yourself is being judged and feeling out of place, almost a stranger in what once felt like home. That's why Nietzsche believed that authenticity is a difficult path, and that few have enough courage to walk it to the end, because it demands that you often walk alone. But he also believed that it is on this solitary journey that you find the most valuable prize, yourself. That's why he wrote, "No one can build the bridges you will need to cross the river of life in your place. No one but you, only you. There are, of course, countless shortcuts and bridges and demigods who will offer to carry you across, but that would cost you your very self. You would mortgage yourself and be lost. There is in the world only one path that you can pass. Where it leads, ask not. forward. If you're at this point now, know that you are in the right place. Not turning back means being willing to pay the price for your truth. What you are living now is not failure. It is transformation. A transformation that could lead you to what Nietzsche called the Overman. He states, "Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Overman, a rope over an abyss, a dangerous crossing, a dangerous wayfaring, a dangerous looking back, a dangerous trembling and stopping. But dangerous why? Because each step toward your true identity requires the death of a part of you that still clings to comfort. It's dangerous because abandoning old certainties hurts, because the abyss Nietzsche mentions is the gap between who you were and who you can become. And crossing it requires not only courage, but a willingness to let go of the false securities that have sustained your life for so long. In that abyss, you will feel vulnerable, small, tempted to turn back. But it is precisely in that moment of turbulence that the chance to create something new is born. As Nietzsche said, one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. So the chaos you feel today, this confusion, this discomfort, this loneliness, is not a sign that you are lost. It is the prelude to rebirth. It is the raw material for creating a new being, one who is no longer a slave to others' approval or imposed norms, but who builds their own values, their own goals, their own existence. But what advice does Nietzsche offer for us to find ourselves? Up to now, we've discussed the courage required to build your own universe of values, without guarantees, without witnesses. But there remains one final test, perhaps the most merciless Nietzsche ever devised. It allows no hesitation, no postponement, because it demands that you face now, eye to eye, the ultimate consequence of your absolute freedom. In his own words, and if, on a solitary night, a demon were to appear and tell you that you would live this life over and over again, exactly as it is, infinite times, would you curse the demon or call him God? This question is not an abstract philosophical exercise. It is real. It is urgent. Because at his core, Nietzsche did not merely want you to find your truth. He wanted to know whether that truth was worthy of being lived again and again, without end, without pause. Could you endure living every decision you've made all over again? Every yes you uttered out of fear, every dream you abandoned, every word you swallowed because it seemed too risky to speak? If the thought of reliving your life infinitely brings despair, perhaps something is still wrong. Nietzsche called this the heaviest weight. It is not the burden of a difficult life. It is the weight of a life half-lived. It is the painful awareness of having accepted imposed paths instead of carving out your own trails. If this test of the eternal return were real right now, would you exist in eternal anguish or boundless joy? Think carefully. Every detail matters. Every choice, every minute, every conversation, all repeating eternally without change. That is why true authenticity is not just being yourself. It is being someone you could bear to be again and again and yet again. You might think that is too cruel. Nietzsche would disagree. He'd say cruelty is living without asking this question. Cruel is clinging to the illusion that someday you'll get another chance to be faithful to your essence. There is no someday, there is only now, and this now repeating endlessly, like an echo without end. Yet there's also profound beauty in this, because if your answer is yes, if you can truly affirm that you would live your entire life again exactly as it is, you know you have achieved something rare, absolute mastery over your own existence. At that point, you cease to be a victim of fate, of circumstance, of others' opinions. It's here that you assume total responsibility for every step taken, every word spoken, every conviction held, and then life stops being something that simply happens to you and becomes something you deliberately construct day by day with awareness and courage. This is the final point of Nietzsche's journey. There are no ready-made answers, no easy solutions. There's only one deep, unsettling, and absolutely necessary question. Does your life, exactly as it is now, deserve to be lived infinitely? If the answer is no, then you already know what you must do. If the answer is yes, you have reached the most important destination possible. This question is not just a test, it is a revelation, because life does not wait for you to be ready. It happens now, in this moment, with all your decisions, all your omissions, all your acts of courage and fear. Nietzsche makes it clear, you've always been in control. Now, the only question left is whether you're living or merely existing. And this decision defines everything. Let us live, not just now, but infinitely.